Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out a game called No Seat, designed by Koss Games. The general aim here is this is a strategy/sim game, at least that's what it's categorized on GameJolt, where we're going to be trying to traverse a number of physics obstacles with our bike, which as you can see has no seat. So I imagine trials would obviously come to mind, and in fact I think that's even what the classification of this style of bike riding is called, which kind of makes sense. Practice your trial biking techniques whilst the weather sucks outside, choose routes to complete, or just muck around generally. I like that kind of gameplay. Before we get started though, I want to call attention to our character here on the left, who seems to have some serious things going on with him. Well, camera doesn't seem to want to cooperate showing us that, but we'll pan around for a little bit, take a look at this wheel here with some sparks. That's, well, it's a good action shot. Makes you kind of excited about what could be ready to show up at any moment. You never know when there might be a power buffer on a piece of metal out in a field. It's strange, but, you know, such is the life of a biker, I suppose. And back to our subject that I was mentioning, I think. So he's got a strange head, hair, helmet situation going on. That's actually, it is just his helmet. They just seem to, for whatever reason, decide to make his helmet hair the color of his hair, almost. So it just kind of makes it a little hard to tell. Also, his eyes seem to be gouged out and filled with some kind of charcoal or something that seems to be slightly shiny. It's a very strange texture. I'm not really sure what's going on with the model, as well as what's up with the hand. The hand is just, it's bent and mangled in a way that I am sad to see. I don't want this person to be in any pain. Also, the pants are a little bit ill-fitting, but, you know, I don't mean to judge or anything. It's just those items in particular stand out to me a little bit. So let's ride, how about? And I'll go and set a bike color. We do have this RGB color chooser down in the bottom left corner, which is kind of a nice little cosmetic detail, and we can pick from anything we choose. I want a rainbow bike that just strobes between all the colors indefinitely. That would be pretty sweet, right? I'll just set it to where pretty much it was. Let's do like a neon lime green. Okay, so let's go ride. And I didn't actually pay very much attention to the controls, unfortunately, which is kind of a bad call on my part. But one thing that I noticed already is I'm going to need to be using the mouse to pan around my character, as well as the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. But then I'm also controlling my bike with WASD, and I got my other hand on, I think it was V, B, and N, as well as spacebar. Yeah, that's correct. So all those things considered, well, there's not a very super high chance of me being able to control the camera and also the bike at the same time. So that's kind of a problem from a gameplay perspective. And also, don't get the wrong impression, regardless of how this game might look. I'm not necessarily going to say that it's necessarily awful or anything. I'm just probably real bad at the controls. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to try and manipulate. Oh, this is okay. Maybe I was just a little off on saying that. The way that the bike seems to handle is very spacey, and I'm not sure that that's really a thing that could happen. What just happened there? Also, there's some sort of a little like weird wisp going on next to. What is that little white nugget? It looks like a paper airplane or a paper crane or something, just kind of stuck in the air. Oh my god, what have I done? I think I killed my biker there. There doesn't seem to be any sound effects. And this is starting to look a little bit like one of those TF2 animations that I see so often on the Valve video maker. Oh my god, I can just launch straight up into the air. Alright, I don't like to be too critical about certain things. I have a feeling maybe this is the developers, one of their first works, and that's totally cool. I actually think this is pretty ambitious to go for like a physics-driven bike game. But I'm a little surprised by how far into the air that I can jet my character just by alternating between a couple of buttons. And also the fact that there's no sound effects. That would actually kind of make this experience a little bit more engaging, I have a feeling. Looking at the character's back, I seem to notice, I'm going to guess that's his shoulder blades protruding through the shirt there. That's an odd effect. Also, can I turn? I guess I'm going to have to take my hands off this to go turn the camera around a little bit. Also, that bulbous butt. My goodness. There also seems to be no seat on the bike, which, like, we already mentioned, that's, like, the focus of the game, but, like, there seems to be some sort of strange seat-like thing going on around the character's butt area. Not sure what that's about. There's a lot of things to do with the character's butt that seem to be sticking out all of a sudden. So let's turn. Oh my god, can we turn? I just want to turn the bike a little bit. I would think WASD would make that fairly easy. Oh, geez. Oh, that's going to be the end of me. Okay, why don't I just see if I can, like, shoot up into the air. I have to say, for comedic value, though, however you want to judge it, this game does seem like it's got something to offer in that respect, at the very least. I feel like I can master the art of launching my character into the air and then maybe just float there forever, and that might be the extent of where we go with things. I may have wedged myself into a position that I can't move. Restart. Oh, I thought that just resets. Okay, well, it resets back to the title screen. That's okay, too. Why don't I try and go maybe behind me? I have no idea how I'm going to turn around, though. And also the frame rate is kind of iffy on this game, too. I should note this is a browser game, so you can actually play that right in your browser. You don't need to download a client file or anything. But I might have preferred that we could download something just because it seems like maybe this is the type of game that could use a little bit of, like, draw distance maintenance. Probably isn't that much going on in the screen that I feel like it should really be knocking the frame rate down into the 40s on a regular basis. You know, I'm dealing with a machine here that's it's got two GTX 770s in it, and provided they are working correctly, which I do hope that they are, because that has come into question before. Things should be probably operating a little bit better than that. So what we're looking at right now is basically, is there enough comedic value to warrant this being enjoyable? Because the main focus and emphasis of the game, which is to try and do trial-style biking, it's kind of just negated by the physics not working correctly. Because what is there really to master about a game like this, if not for the physics, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I have to say, like I mentioned already, it's kind of funny. But if there were, like, some sound effects, and if we could really take this to the next level, we could get into some, like, Goat Simulator territory. But as it stands, I feel like we're kind of straddling the line between both elements. And I kind of want it to go in either one direction or the other, because right now I'm just a man floating in the air for some reason, and I'd like to be a man floating in the air and ragdolling my character all over this obstacle course and watching hilarious death sequences for him. Instead, we're just riding backward on our bike tire and turning in circles. The man has the best balance of all time. We can't argue that. So good, in fact, that he can actually transcend gravity at times like this, which is pretty funny. I wonder, though, like, if I could just get really good at figuring out how to manipulate this character, maybe there's instances where I could just look like I'm actually really good at this. Like, I might be able to fake it and make it look like the physics are actually fantastic if I was really good at manipulating the character. But since I'm not, I'm just sort of cycling in place and bouncing around. And, well, honestly, bouncing is kind of doing the game a little bit of a favor. I don't think I'm doing much bouncing. I'm really just sort of, oh, geez, well, I'm doing that quite a bit. You know, they took so much time and careful effort to map out all these routes. You know, there's a yellow route. You can see there's markers going through all these things. There's actually a pretty cleverly pathed set of areas we're supposed to go through. We've got the green route over here that seems to go up into a bunch of rocks. And maybe also over there. I'm not sure where this exactly goes. Maybe this is where we come back down from. And then there's just like a ramp over here that we can mess around with, and maybe some stuff off in the distance. And in a lot of ways, actually, this seems like a game that could be really quite enticing to bike enthusiasts. And I kind of wish that the physics got worked out, and maybe this could end up being a thing that I could really recommend pretty wholeheartedly. Because I do like where the developer's head is at, and it seems like a lot of the attention to detail is actually there. It's just like the basic core gameplay mechanic of the physics to the whole thing are pretty broken. And, well, I don't think I really need to say that. You can see it. But I wish this was better. I wish I could recommend this, and I wish it was what I wanted it to be in one direction or the other. There was that downhill BMX first-person game that I just randomly found one time on Desera, and I didn't really know that I wanted to play a first-person mountain biking game, but that game made me realize that I did. And all of a sudden, well, maybe there is some fertile ground to be tread here, and, you know, liking Trials games to some extent also gives me a pretty good indication that that is quite likely that it would be a thing that lots of people would enjoy. So, you know, seeing something like this, I'm excited by the promise, but I'm a little sad that we're not further along. I mean, maybe this is still in development. I guess I didn't really see that in the descriptors. But, I hope this does continue on. I hope this ends up being something fruitful. And if indeed that does happen, I would be glad to revisit it and perhaps give it a seal of approval. Just right now, I think we're constrained by the limits of some reasonably default Unity items as well as some very wonky physics. But I would love to go motor around, or not motor around, but bike around. Oh god, I can go right through this truck. What is up with these logos on there? Oh wow. Can I just drive the truck? Oh, I've reached the end of the world. There's actually just a skybox underneath us. Man, the truck is so detailed. There's even like a winch thing on the front and the logos and careful projected shadows. And oh my god, I've killed the frame rate though. And I'm imagining like a Tony Hawk style thing in this arena area too. Like maybe we could have some challenges, and if we were really proficient at controlling our character, maybe we could go exploring and maybe find some challenges that were off the beaten path. And that could be a good time. A nice mix of exploration and adventure, as well as the challenge of dealing with the physics model. See, this is probably why the physics or the frame rate's so bad, is because there's all these high detail models that were probably pulled from the asset store or something that don't necessarily fit within the realm of what we're looking at. And since it doesn't have a launcher, this is just an online version. It's not like it can really scale the graphics anyway. So we've got tons of grass, we've got tons of shadows and effects and high detail poly models everywhere. Well, not that they're everywhere, but there's probably a select few of them that are meant to just be set pieces. And in this case, in the web version, well, it doesn't really quite work out like that. What gear am I in that I could be pedaling like this? I have no idea. Also, we should be able to set the color of the helmet. That would be nice, because it just looks so goofy. Set the color of his shirt, too, would be cool. Bike, helmet, and shirt, and I think we'd be good to go if we want to do color customization. Anyway, that's No Seat. I hate to be negative, and I don't tend to do that very often on the show, and I don't really want to be negative, to be honest. I think this was just perhaps a little bit more ambitious than the developer was ready to get into, or perhaps it's still in development and just needs a bunch more refinement, and if that's the case, then that's totally cool. I may have found it a little bit early on, but I can't even turn my character around. This is so frustrating. I just want to go in a straight line, and I'm basically just stuck going back and forth. I want you guys to go check this out, if anything, just to see what your criticisms are. Maybe it's just that I'm just utterly horrible at this control mechanism, and maybe, like I said, that there is a way to manipulate this character in such a way as to make this a lot more enjoyable. But right now, I can't even, like, go in a line or, well, anyway, you get the point. So that's No Seat for you. Link's going to be in the description if you want to try it out. It is free. Of course, you can go let me know what you think about it in the comments. I would value your opinions, of course. And be sure to come back again tomorrow. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, they're not usually quite this off the beaten path as far as like games that aren't quite ready for play. But, if you want to revisit me again tomorrow, I will be here. New episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day. So I look forward to seeing you again then. I'm stuck in a tree, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you later, everybody.